All right. Happy Wednesday, everybody. April 7th. Shoot. Welcome. If you're joining us on the replay, no worries. There's going to be a lot of incredible questions that we've got queued up here that we're going to get answered all about snaps. And if you are joining us live, please go ahead and make sure to authorize StreamYard. Go ahead and give StreamYard the okay to connect. So if you're watching from YouTube or from Facebook, that'll allow us in the comment feeds to pull up your question on screen and get it answered, because we're going to get into some questions today that were submitted in advance, and then I'm going to be excited to take some questions real time and whatever you need in regards to snaps. This last week was a huge week for us after almost 6 months in beta testing, and a lot of you really incredible beta testers who have been really putting the editor and this publishing engine just kind of through the ringer and really stretching and testing the capabilities of it. We now have officially launched the full-fledged Snaps dashboard app, and so we've been getting a lot of really good feedback from that. So appreciate all y'all and kind of what you've helped us kind of build, over the last 6 months or so. It's pretty incredible to see how many sites, how many thousands of sites are already published on Snaps, and I'm sure many, many more in the coming months. So let me go ahead and I'm going to drop this on here real quick, just so you can see at the bottom of the screen. Again, streamyard.com/Facebook. If you're joining us from Facebook, that way you can basically give Facebook the okay for us to see your comments. And then if you've got questions, then we'll go ahead and answer them on the stream here today. We're going to keep things a little bit tighter, probably in here in about 30, 40 minutes. Try to get through as many questions as we possibly can, and then we'll get rolling. So let me pop over to the comments here, and we got some of the regulars. What's up, Calvin? Calvin's joining us from YouTube. Andrew, we got you joining us from Facebook. Hello, everybody. Awesome. It's great to see you guys in here. This is the first time we're actually streaming into kind of multiple places. So you might be joining us from YouTube, you might be joining us from Facebook. We're excited to have you. So if you have any questions at all that you would like me to address this week, go ahead and pop them into the comments, into the stream, and we'll go ahead and get those pulled up and answered. But in the meantime, I'm gonna get right into it. I've got a couple of questions that are queued up that kind of had come through. In fact, while I'm doing that, I'm going to pull up my screen here too, because obviously you can see the new, beautiful, amazing dashboard that our development team has been working on, and we've been pushing updates out on the daily. Have more updates that are going to be going out anytime you launch anything new. It's kind of like new features, new additions that are going to be coming. And so, hey, what's up, Mick? How's it going? All right, let me go ahead and get rid of this guy so you can actually see what's on screen here, and we'll get into some of these questions. And yeah, we'll have a good time. So the first one that comes in actually comes in from Paul about email. Is email integrated if I purchase a domain through your domain service? If not, what do you recommend for email? Great question, Paul. In fact, here, what I'm going to do, There we go. Okay. Apologize for that, you guys. Okay, you said you lost sound. Okay, you've got me now. I'm learning. I didn't realize when I took my video off screen that we would lose audio too. So hopefully you can hear me now. Thank you, Calvin. Calvin was giving me a call. I wasn't paying attention to the comments because I was watching the screen. If you guys can hear me now, go ahead and just drop that into. Awesome. I'm back. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. Josh, Andrew, Calvin. Thank you. You just roll with the punches. You learn every day. This is a newer kind of like streaming platform that we're using. And I was thinking I could just show you my screen. Actually, I think what I can do is I can do this and you can probably still hear me. So awesome. All right. So I think we're good to go. Awesome. Okay, cool. Let me rewind because I think I was gone for a minute or two there. Hopefully not that long. But let me pull up Paul's question again one more time. Paul asked, hey, is email integrated if I purchase a domain through your domain service? If not, what do you recommend using for email? And so what I was visually showing you when you couldn't hear my voice is that we've got, the go.snaps dashboard, which is where you would come to, edit your websites and create new websites. You can launch the template picker here and I could search. Let's say I was wanting to, create like a gardener type site or landscaping type site. I could do a search for that. Or maybe I wanted to do something for a gym. I could search for gyms. I can make my sites. But where you would go to purchase a URL or domain or, to set up email would be over at Snaps Domains. So snapsdomains.com. Now you do need to create a separate and unique login for Snaps Domains than you do for the go.snaps dashboard. So, if you try to use your go.snaps.ai login over here, it's not going to work, and vice versa. These are two separate kind of login systems. We are going to be consolidating and making this simpler in the future, but to get this launched, this was kind of the fastest way to do it. So I am logged in here to my Snaps Domains account, and you can see here on my screen, I've got a handful of domains that I've purchased, and it's pretty simple to go ahead and set up email. The way that I would do that is I would literally just find the domain I want to use, and I would click use my domain. And what it's going to do, it's going to give me some options here. Now, we're working with our partners on this. So GoDaddy is our partner behind Snaps Domains. Do not build a new website through Snaps Domains. You're doing that through go.snaps, but you can set up an email account. You can do that pretty easily. So just click set up, and then you'll have these different options for setting up an email. Now, even though this says personal email, if you are using this email for business, you can still use this personal email account. It's just, a single email address. So if you needed, like business owner at, LasVegasLandscaping.com or, contact at edhpoolcleaner.com, you could use this personal email address, and you can see, 12 months, it's only $249 a month for this. That's pretty cheap. Now, if you do have a team and you need more emails, you can go with something like a business email account, which is going to give you, up to 5 email addresses. And it's pretty simple and straightforward to walk through this process. And it's all kind of set up and managed there within Snaps Domains. If you do it through Snaps Domains, you don't have to set up any additional MX records or DNS records or all the technical stuff that you need to do. Otherwise, if you're into that kind of stuff and you know how to do that and you want to use a different service, absolutely, you can just go, hey, I want to use a different email solution. You would click here, and then you're going to want to click this set up other email. So if you were using something like G Suite or Google Workspace, you would need to go ahead and jump into your DNS records, follow those instructions, and then you would need to go to if we do a quick search here for Google Workspace, you would just need to get with their support, follow their instructions, set up billing with them and the like. So obviously, I'm going to recommend getting it all done through Snaps Domains, because then we can support you and help you troubleshoot if you need anything like that. Plus, then you have one place where you've got all your domains, all your email accounts. So Paul, hopefully that answers your question. It's as simple as, go ahead and search for the domain that you want to use in snapsdomains.com, buy that domain, and then just click that button that says use my domain. If you have any questions on anything related to domains, email, anything like that, you can call this phone number up here. We've our partner support team over here helps us with all the domain and technical support. So you can call this phone number, and you would just need your customer ID number and your PIN, and they'd be able to help you troubleshoot any of that. Okay. So if you're just joining us, if you've got questions, go ahead and drop them into the chat here below, and we'll go ahead and take those as they come in. I see a bunch more people have joined on. And Ryan says, "Oh, I did cut out the same spot again. It's back now, but it cut out for me." Okay, hopefully you guys can hear me. Okay, if you can hear me, please let me know in the comments that the audio is back and sounding good. That would be really helpful. But let's go on to the next question, which comes from Rebecca. We actually have a couple of questions from Rebecca today, but I want to pull this one up first. She's talking about a client needing separate types of blogs, right? So I have a client that needs to separate or sort their blog posts from two topics. Is that something Snaps is capable of? She kind of had a little bit longer version of the question, but saying like, hey, do I need to go and create two separate blogs? How do I go about doing that? And we did have a little bit of a blogging workshop more recently, but let me dive into this. And if I hop over here to my kind of website panel, we'll dive into one of these sites, and we can actually go ahead and set up a blog. In fact, let me go into one that has a blog already. So I'll go into this kind of like personal site. So I'll just click edit website here and jump into the GabrielRyan.co site. Let me make this a little bit bigger so it's easier to see, and I'll show you how you can kind of categorize things with your blog. So a couple of things when it comes to your blog. On the left-hand sidebar here, you click this little blog icon, and this is going to give you all the different settings for your blog, your individual posts that you can manage here, the actual layout. So if I go edit layout, this is kind of the general layout that all blog posts would follow. So all blog posts would have this header section up at the top with the post title, which is going to pull in dynamically. This section is grayed out because this will be the content of any blog. And then I've got, Facebook comments. I've got this sidebar over here, a couple different things, an email opt-in. And then what you'll see down here at the bottom is we have kind of like a blog roll or like recent posts type of widget that's showing up. And this is how you would go about basically if you needed to kind of organize and separate some of the content on your blog, on your site. Let's say you have one blog, right? Let's say you have one blog, but you want to separate those posts. So let's say, for example, so I'm in Deschutes County, Oregon, and you have Bend and Redmond are kind of like the two of the cities right nearby. So let's say I had a single site that was serving both cities. It's the Bend Redmond area, or if you're in the Tri-Counties area, right? But you still want to have specific content for just Bend and then specific content for just Redmond. Well, the way I would tackle that is I would do that with tags, and I would tag each post with Bend or with Redmond, and then I can actually create separate pages to show those particular posts so that the people in Bend are going to the Bend page and they're only seeing Bend posts. And then the people from Redmond are going to the Redmond page and only seeing the Redmond posts. So let me show you what that would look like kind of behind the scenes here. Okay. So if I am in the blog settings and I go over here to my different posts and I go into the post settings themselves, if you scroll down, you're going to see something called post tags. Now, just for the sake of our example here, I'm going to follow the example that I set. I'm going to delete these tags. And let's say I want this post to be for Bend. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to set this storytelling one to be Redmond. And as you can see, you can set multiple tags to a single post. So if I wanted this last one to be Bend and Redmond, so let's say this, this served the whole Deschutes County area, I would select this tag and then I would go find the other tag, Redmond. Okay, so now I've got one post with the Bend tag, one post with the Redmond tag, and one post with both of those tags. Now what I can do is I can go ahead and create a couple of pages. So I'm going to exit layout mode. Whoops. I'm going to head over to my pages menu, and I can create any sort of page. So I've already created a page like this called blog, which for the sake of what we're doing here, I'm just going to basically duplicate this page just to make life easy here. But you could create a page. So I'm going to create a page called Bend, and then I'm going to create a page called Redmond. Okay. And now on this page, I've got a couple of things. So let's say I've got this title here and I want to call this one Redmond. I've got my search widget, which is going to search the entire blog, which can be really helpful. And then I'm going to want to add this all post widget, which I just happen to know that it's here because it was there before, and then I removed those tags, and so it kind of edited that. But let me show you something here real quick. Let me delete this. So if I were to add this from scratch, let's see, I think there's one here too. Oh, that's just a spacer. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go over to widgets. I'm going to do a search for posts, and I'm going to do the all posts or recent posts. They operate basically the same. And I'm going to drag this all posts widget onto the page. Now you can see by default, it is pulling in all 3 of my blog posts and previewing them here. Now I can filter this by a tag and say, hey, this is the Redmond page, only show the Redmond posts. And you can kind of mess with this too on the design side of things. You've got all these different layouts that you can kind of filter between, right? If I wanted something that was, a little bit bigger here, I could do that, right? So now I've got Redmond set up. Let's say I want to do the same exact thing for Bend. Even though I already created this other page, I'm actually going to delete it. And then I'm going to duplicate this page because I've got the layout that I want. I'm going to call this Bend. And then literally the only thing I have to do in here is go into this widget and change the filter tag by and choose Bend. So now those 2 posts that were titled Bend are showing up here. So that's kind of how I would handle it if I were to, have a single blog with multiple topics. And obviously you can kind of structure this any way that you want. Maybe you want to kind of like nest these under the main blog, right? So maybe you have a page that is like your main blog, and then you have these, kind of like topic specific blogs here. I would have to go in, and because this navigation I have set is not pulling in automatically from the sidebar, but let's say we added those different topics, I could take these and kind of nest them. So you've got that menu, right? So now if I hover over blog, I can go to Bend or Redmond. So that's kind of how I would tackle that. Rebecca, hopefully that answers your question there in terms of, how you could go about using a single blog and kind of organizing things accordingly. Obviously, we do that with the Snap support blog. I actually was on very late last night with our support squad team talking about kind of next steps and kind of some things that we're doing for the Snap support blog, which, by the way, if you ever need any help there, let me pop this onto the screen for you real quick. It's just support.snaps.ai is the URL there. We have all sorts of content. We have a lot more kind of coming down the pike, some things with local business schema, the accordion widget that has now FAQ schema, some of the updates we have coming to the dashboard. That'll all be going out through the blog over at support.snaps.ai, which actually I should be even more accurate here. Let me give you the actual full URL here. /blog. There you go. All right. So let me pop back into the comments real quick and see how everyone is doing. Awesome. Killer. So let me pull this up real quick. Thomas is asking, hey, what's the ETA when smaller websites will be available for purchase for done for you? So hit up our support squad, Thomas. If you need some help getting sites done, we're ready. We're ready now. So hit us up in the support chat, which that would just be at. Let me go ahead and pop this in here. Just hit us up at www.snaps.ai/chat. Let us know that you're interested in kind of some done for you site builds, and we will take care of you. All right. We will keep rolling. I got a couple more questions that were loaded up in advance. We got one here from Chima, who's in the United Kingdom. So across the pond, and Chima says, hey, I'm finding it difficult to update UK addresses in the business info section of the content library. It does not give a full postal code, instead just half. And totally feel you, Chima. This can be, a little, sometimes you're kind of working around, technical limitations. I know we've ran into this when we first moved to a brand new house that had just been built in a new subdivision, and getting people to giving people our address, and then having to tell them all, say, hey, don't trust GPS. GPS doesn't know where we are yet. Our address is not in the system, so we'd have to give people kind of manual directions. So I feel your pain on that when it's difficult to kind of find that address. So it's kind of the same thing here, but let me pop up another site and let me show you, what can be done with addresses, especially if you're using this, to kind of go and prospect for new businesses. Let's say you're running into, which I think probably next week, I'm going to be doing a workshop specifically on this whole idea of going out there using Snaps as a prospecting tool. So if that's something that you're interested in, please let me know in the comments. Would love to know kind of, if you're already doing that a little bit, how's it going for you? What sort of questions do you have around that? But I think next week, what we're probably going to do is a kind of a prospecting with Snaps, a way that you can go in without spending any money, use the tool that we have for free, because you don't have to pay until you publish, but we've got some cool things with the business info panel and being able to spin up a site and use some preview links to then really just kind of show some results in advance to a business owner of the kind of work that you could do for them. And I'm going to give you a workflow where you're going to be able to do that very quickly and efficiently. And I think Chima's kind of starting to do some of this already. And I want to show you how you could do that here inside of that business info panel. So let me pull up this cabinetry website here, and I'm going to hide this and make the screen a little bit bigger again. So what Chima is referring to is the content and business info panel. Over here, we've got all sorts of information tied to the business kind of in question, right? So if you were building a site for, let's say we were going Folsom, California cabinetry. Let's say we're looking for, a business owner, and there's us, woohoo. But let's say, this reborn cabinets, I wanted to go and create a website for this company and kind of show them, what I'd be able to do for them. I'm grabbing their business information, their address, their phone number, wanting to pop that into Snaps. You would take all that information and kind of just go down the line here, enter business name, location name, emails, and the like. Now, what Chima is referring to here is the business address. Now, the business address, you can see here this little copyright with Mapbox. So Mapbox is the underlying technology that kind of powers this address section. And there are some limitations, there are some known limitations with this business address form. First and foremost, you cannot set a suite number or an apartment number. So let's say I had this address in Cambridge, Massachusetts, but I was in suite 101. Now, as you can see, as I type that out, now there's nothing showing up in that drop-down menu. And the way Mapbox works, you have to have an actual physical address that is already showing up in their system. So as you start to type this out, you would want to select, one of these options. So what we have for Folsom, for the Folsom Cabinetry site, because this is like a service area business, so there's not an actual brick and mortar shop that people walk into to get their cabinets. The business owner goes on site to the customer's home to service the business, but they serve the area of Folsom. So when I start typing in Folsom, I can select Folsom, California, United States. And what it does is it kind of drops a pin at city center. And the reason why this is important really is for a couple of things. Most importantly, this is for enabling schema on your website, which if you don't know what schema is, check out, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we did a Q&A all about enabling business schema. We have some stuff coming out in the blog that's all about schema and why that's important. And all that's happening behind the scenes is we are taking this address and we are getting the latitude and longitude, right? So we're getting I forget which one's which, but we're getting the latitude and longitude marks, the geo coordinates of that address, because for schema to work, that's all schema wants. They don't need an actual physical postal address. They need the latitude and longitude. So long story short, if you're in a big high-rise building and you can't get the suite 101, this, apartment 234, whatever, not to worry. You just need to get something close to where you're at. It's going to find those geo coordinates. You're going to be able to enable business schema. Now, the second reason that you would want to use the business address is because you actually want to show the address on your site. Now, just by including it here in the business info panel, it's not necessarily going to include it on your site. And let me show you what I mean by that. So just by having it in here, you would have to do what we call, connect to data. And you would need to, grab a widget or a piece of text. So in this case, we do have a map that this is, we can connect this to data if we want, and we could connect this to that business address. And you can see now the map shifted to where we have set up in the business info panel. If I was operating a home-based business, so let's say I have a service area business, I'm using my home to verify my Google My Business postcard, and I don't want to show the address, I don't have to. I just wouldn't connect it to anything like this. But if you did, let's say you do want to show the address and you can't get it to pop up in the business info panel, what I would do next is this, is I would go and set up some business text. So I would go into the business text section. I would go down here and I would go add another text, and I would, maybe call it something like, physical, if I can spell, physical address. And then I'm just going to say, 123 Main Street, Suite 101, Folsom, California. So in Chima's case, if you have a zip code that's, has some letters and numbers in it, it's 902 ABW 3C, is your zip code. Now all of a sudden you can add that in just fine, and you can connect to data. Now, the only thing that's not going to work here is this is not going to work with our map widget, right? But this will work with any sort of text widget. So if I wanted to show that and display that business address somewhere, I could go down here into this section of the site and in my footer, and add in a little bit of text, right? Actually, sorry, we're going to hit Shift and the little curly bracket. I'm going to say, hey, I want to insert, and now I can pull up, you can see that business text, that physical address here on my site. I just need to do a little bit of formatting so you can actually see it. Oops, sorry. Doing too many things at once. There we go. I think the size is a little off too. There we go. All right. So now you can see I'm displaying the address that I want to be displaying, even though it would not show up in that business address section. So in summary, when you're using the business info panel, the most important thing with regards to this address is getting some geo coordinates that are as close as possible to your physical business location or your service area that you serve, for enabling schema. If you want to show the most accurate address on the site and Mapbox does not have that available, go ahead and add that in business text. But hopefully that makes some good sense. I'm going to check in with the comments here and see how you guys are at. If there's any other questions. Mick says, wait, didn't know Snaps is offering separate done for you service. Didn't know that. Yeah, hit us up and we'll take care of you. Awesome. Very interested in using Snaps for prospecting. Yeah, I think Snaps should be, one of the most important prospecting tools that you have. And one of the integrations and applications that we're coming out with next, hoping next week. Not going to share the details yet, but for those of you that have, are on some of the bigger plans and have some of these other packages purchased and have more sites that are published, we're even going to give you some free credits to use this other tool that you're going to be able to use for going out there and prospecting and working with new business owners. But just out of the box with what we already have, you can go out, you can mock up a quick site, a landing page, whatever, and really, be able to show a business owner what their presence could look like, if they worked with you, which is really cool. All right. Latitude, fatitude, like you're hugging the fat globe of Earth. No, I love it. Awesome. Let's see here. So Andrew says, for a service area based business, is it better to do city center instead of your GMB address for schema? Now, I would do, if you have a GMB address, Andrew, I would use that in the business info panel. So I would use your GMB address if you have that. It's going to be better. It's going to match up with the kind of geo coordinates. But if you don't, city center is going to work just fine. And then, you could always too, if you really wanted to get technical with it, you could add multiple locations. Schema is always going to use your first location, your primary location. So you could set up, let's say, location 1, which would be your GMB address. That's what you're going to use for schema. It's going to be the most accurate with kind of like geolocation. You could then set up location 2, which just is, you put in another address, which is city center, if you did want to use the map feature tied into a piece of connected data. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, I can kind of walk through that again. But yeah, I would go ahead and, at least for schema, I would use what's set up with your GMB. Kind of a little more of an SEO question, but yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, let's see here. We got another question from Rebecca, actually, just about a way to create a nofollow link in Snaps. So let me go big screen again, and we'll stay here in Snaps or in this cabinetry site. Let me just do, I'll go clean that up later because this is an actual live site that's generating leads right now. So I want to make sure I don't make any of those, don't publish any of those changes. But that is one of the beauties with Snaps, which, real quick, always a good recommendation to kind of back up your work. See, we've got these backups that you can kind of restore to or create any new backups kind of as you go, which is really nice. And we do a handful of automated backups here and there for you. But I would recommend if you're doing any kind of major updates, go and back up your stuff. But Rebecca was asking, because she was asking about, a directory site that she's got with a bunch of different business owners. And hey, I want to add links to all these business owners, but I don't want to like pass through all of that Google juice. I want to do some nofollow links. And maybe that, those businesses that pay a premium are the ones that are going to get the do follow links, right? So how do you do that in Snaps? Well, let's say, you've got this section of the site here. And let's say I wanted to link out to Jennifer O and Raymond T and Edward B. These were, let's say, my business owners, and I wanted to link to their specific site. So let's take Edward B here, and let's turn this into a link. So I'm literally just going to highlight this text. I'm going to turn this into a link. And here, I'll zoom out a little bit. There we go. And let's just send this to Snaps and close this window. I'll format this too, so that it's, white. Maybe I even want to remove the underline, but it is still a link, right? So I've set the formatting the way that I like it. By default, this is a do follow link. Now, I actually have a little Chrome extension up at the top here. I'm not sure if you can see this or not, but this is just called nofollow. Um, nofollow Chrome extension. So if you don't have this tool, this is a really helpful tool just to make sure that your links that you have set up are in fact either do follow or no follow, and that you did things correctly, right? So I have this installed. So if I have a no follow link, you're going to see a little red outline pop up around the link. And all you're going to want to do is right click on this little text block, and you need to scroll down here to where it says edit HTML and CSS. If for whatever reason you do not see this edit HTML and CSS in your menu, hit up our support chat. We can make sure that those permissions are turned on for you. There's, for those of you that were coming over from beta, some of the sites have different permissions. We are going to be making a big push to update everyone's permissions so everyone has access to all the features, but it's very easy for us to turn this on if you don't have it. So if you're watching this replay, if you're on the live and you don't see this edit HTML and CSS, the same thing up here at the top, this little, these little brackets with the /, this is how you get into developer mode. Proceed with caution. Make sure you do a backup before you do this. Make sure you know what you're doing if you're going to go into the code of the site, but it is there in case you you need to be able to do that. But for I'm making this way more complicated than it needs to be. For a no follow link, right click on the text, edit HTML and CSS. You're going to then navigate to the HTML tab, and you're going to look for the link. Whoops. Oh, okay. So the link is right here. This snaps.ai is the link. There's all this kind of formatting, which is what I did in the text editor when I made it white and I removed the underline and set the font type and all that jazz, right? So we don't want to mess with any of this. And then right after this little bracket is Edward B, because that's the actual text. So all we want to do here, right inside of this bracket, is just hit rel equals quotes no follow, and it's as simple as that. So you go ahead and add that rel equals no follow, and go ahead and update. So you'll click the little update button. For me, it's not giving you any sort of like confirmation or anything like that. You can literally just kind of exit out, close this window, and see if this worked or not, which it looks like it didn't. So I might have done something wrong. Give me 1 second here. I think I have a space in there, which is why. So let me go right click, edit HTML and CSS, go back into the HTML. Oh, it didn't save. That's why. So I'm gonna hit a space here. I'm just gonna paste my rel equals no follow, and then click update here. Whoop. Apologize if you can hear the craziness in the background. We got all kinds of kids at the house right now. Okay. Of course, always on the live demo is when stuff decides to not work, because I did test this earlier and I have a bunch of no follow stuff on my site and it works just fine. Might be something interfering with, let me manage my extensions real quick. Sometimes these Chrome extensions will mess with the editor. And so let me try turning those off. And then let me go over to CSS. Boom. Okay. All right. Let me just republish the site here real quick, and then turn no follow back, or the extension back on here on the home page, because it should be as simple as that. Okay. 1 second, you guys. Got to turn this back on. Okay. Head over to my Folsom Cabinetry site. There we go. It did work. Okay, cool. All right. So you can see that little red dotted line on there is basically saying that, hey, this is a no follow link, which is different than, some of the others on the site. So, any of the other links that I might have, I guess I could create one real quick to show you the difference. Okay, so let's create this one for Raymond T. We'll just do this super quick. If I wanted to send it to the same spot and republish, go back to the site. And just to be safe, I'm going to do a hard refresh to make sure my system's not caching anything and it reads it correctly. But you're going to see, okay, cool. Yep. Edward B is a no follow link and Raymond T is a do follow. So if I click on Edward B, takes me to Snaps. I click on Raymond T, takes me to Snaps. But now you can see the difference between the do follow and no follow. So hopefully that makes good sense. I'm going to jump back into the comments, and if you guys have any other questions, we'll tackle those now. Otherwise, I think we might be wrapping it for the day. So let's go in here and see what else you guys have for me. So we already got that one. Andrew says, "Yeah, I've done that a few times. You and me both, brother." Awesome. Well, with that, then I think we about covered it. We had a couple of questions here that we got into with the business info panel, with no follow, do follow links, using kind of the business info and addresses. What else did we cover today? I'm not see. You can tell how like short term memory I already have. Oh yeah, emails with Snaps domains, and then kind of a little bit of the blog stuff. So go ahead and, if you have any other questions, we're going to be doing this on the regular. Hope you guys are liking the new format, especially those of you that are joining us from some of the other channels like the Snaps Facebook page or YouTube page. Do me a favor, go find us over on YouTube and give us a follow over there. We're going to be putting out a lot more content on that particular channel. And I'm going to start actually asking for kind of some video questions from you guys. So you can look out for that next week. We're going to be launching AskSnaps.com, which is going to be super exciting. We're going to get to interface a little bit more, do any sort of kind of like screen share type questions that you might have, whether they're technical in nature or business related. Really, we just want to make sure that you've got the best training and tools possible to be able to grow your business and serve the business owners and grow the businesses for the business owners that you serve, right? So some exciting stuff coming down the pike on that. Like I said, next week, we are going to do that kind of prospecting with Snaps and how to use Snaps as a prospecting tool for free in order to go out there and get some business. Because I know for most of you that are on here, you're wanting to build, a lead generation or an agency type business or an SEO business, or maybe doing some paid ads. And you want to become an expert, a consultant, and you want to have kind of all these assets out there working for you. And it only takes, one or two customers to be able to afford the cost that you need to, invest in that business. I know when I started my wedding photography business, every dollar that I made when I first started that initial business, I poured right back into it. I booked a gig and I bought another a camera lens. I booked another gig. I bought a laptop. In fact, I remember when I bought my first laptop, and this was back in 2007. That was a big deal because I was like, hey, and this was before Instagram. This was honestly, before like Facebook was open to anyone other than college students. And most people at the time were used to waiting weeks and weeks and weeks to see photos from a wedding. And I was like, shoot, I could take this money that I just made and I could put it in my pocket, or I could reinvest it back into my business and buy this laptop. And I bought this laptop. It was probably the most expensive computer I'd ever purchased to date. But with that laptop, I was able to, at the wedding that I shot, download a handful of images, 20, 30 images, edit them, and show them that same night. We called it a same day edit, which at the time was like really, it was kind of a big deal. Now it's not, because everyone has their phones, and like, the photographer is usually the last one to get the photos out because the family, everyone's there, snapping photos. But that one investment got me a bunch more business, because what happened was I would show those photos, the night of the wedding, and everyone would crowd around and be like, oh my gosh, we just experienced that. These photos are so beautiful. And then they would start talking to their friends about that incredible photographer that was able to pull this off. And we got so much business out of that. And I want the same for you. in terms of what you're building with snaps. It just takes one or two of these kind of stories to get out there and really help a business owner. And so you've got the tools that you need to be able to do that. We're going to give you the strategies, the workflows, kind of show you the ways to kind of like save energy and kind of get this stuff done a little bit quicker so you can get in front of these business owners, because all you really need is one or two of these wins, and then you can kind of parlay that into more and more wins, just like I did with my photography business, where literally I started that business with a single camera, a really crappy lens. I did like 2 shoots for free, hoping that they would just trust me enough to then talk to their friends about me. And one of those free shoots actually ended up paying me later to do some work for them. The other one didn't, but that then turned into all this other business. And like I said, every time I brought in a little bit of revenue, I invested into something that was going to make me more revenue. So excited to teach you guys some of that stuff. But with that, I'll say have an awesome rest of your Wednesday. This next week is going to be killer. We have a lot coming for you, and we'll see you soon.